Well, welcome back to the Old Fools Network. Oh gosh, I I did want to mention that pretty much every single one of these things that I've done has been off the cuff. No really prepared notes or anything of that sort. Of course, there was the one about the disinfecting yourself, where I did have some props that I dug up out of the cabinet. So otherwise, yeah, it's been pretty much just stream of conscious type stuff. Well, here we are. It's just so confusing. It's just so I can't even really put it into words. I do have my wine in this insulated bottle, and it does a good job keeping it cold. Don't really like warm wine. I'm sure there's parts of the world where that's really the thing, but no warm wine for me. But yeah, I mean, it's just this time that we're in. I don't have any. I don't have any words for it at all. It's just. It's spinning my head. I mean, honestly, that's all I can say. It's just like I don't know if it's like a perfect confluence of whatever fate, phase of the moon, tidal issues. I just don't have a clue. But just when you thought you'd be back into at least somewhat of a semi-normal type scenario, it just busts out. I mean, it just does. It just busts right out, and here we are, and people in this country, as most all of you know, have a long and storied history of protest. And in that long and storied history, not all protests have been nonviolent. I mean, we cannot say that what we're seeing out on the street today or these days is anything new. That's just not the way that it is. But people have the right, and I'm not for violence in any way, shape, or form when it comes to trying to make your point. I don't think most people are for it, and the people that are out there are not into that kind of thing. It's just a matter of some that are into it, and they get the news, they get the headlines, and unfortunately, I think those that are there for a legitimate, peaceful movement, of course, get sucked into that same vortex created by those that want to incite and inflame. Yeah. I don't think that there's anything that you can do when it comes to that. It's just maybe the way it is. There's people out there that want an excuse. to cause mayhem. I mean, that's what it really boils down to. They don't necessarily have an agenda. They're just there because that's their thing. That's what they want to do. It's like a troll on the internet attempting to incite, some type of cheesy back and forth that you're not really interested in getting sucked into, but they do the best that they can to get you sucked in. And I see what's happening much in the same light, but it's sad. It's just another sign of the times, and the perfect storm. I mean, we watched Ferguson. I was close to Ferguson. Hell, I went to Ferguson when Ferguson was on. And you could play back the footage of Ferguson, and you would see that it could be called the same thing that's happening right now. There was no substantial differences. That's just the way that it was then. It's the way that it is now. I think the point that I'm trying to make, though, is how do you separate those that have a legit need to have their voices heard from those that are just there to create mayhem and mischief and destruction? I don't know how you can do that, but it ends up being an issue where I think there are certain factions in this country that just want to clamp down the whole ball of wax. That's what they want to do. They want to clamp it down. They don't care one way or the other. And these are the same people that have their own private bunker that they can retire themselves and their family to whenever they see fit, and can draw on the resources to get done what they need done or what they think needs done. And does that incite the issue more than conciliatory words and promise to help improve relationships within this country? Because that's what it all boils down to, isn't it? I mean, isn't that all that it boils down to? I don't care what anybody says. It goes in one ear and out the other. There are people, and a lot of them, that are nothing but, hang on. Yes. Telemarketer, of course. Anyway, let me get my train of thought back here. There's no answer. I wish I had an answer. But I think too, what I'm trying to get at is the perfect confluence of a pandemic, clear and undeniable brutality and murder. I mean, that's what it was. I saw it. You saw it. I mean, what the hell else was it? If you don't want to call it that, you want to call it an accident, well, feel free to call it an accident, but it wasn't an accident. I mean, these people go through extensive training. I've never been in law enforcement, but I've been in the military. I know what goes on, and they go through extensive. It's like a chokehold. A chokehold will kill you if not let go after X amount of time. I think 2-3 minutes, if my memory serves, is what. But anyway, I mean, it's all a downer. I'm sitting here going into this rant that I know probably a lot of you don't want to hear. you're more than welcome to make your own video and express your opinion. I will listen to it, and I will hear what you have to say. And that's the way America works. We all have different opinions, but we have to be willing to accept. We have to be willing to be accepting. And that's the way that it used to be. I mean, now it's just, let's put the knee on the neck of the nation, isn't it? To me, sometimes that's what it sounds like. But anyway, this is already took longer than I thought it would or should, but I don't know. It's like everything. It's like I've said 1,000 times. I don't have the answer. I wish I had the answer. All I can do is say what I feel. And sometimes you feel like a voice out in the wilderness, but there's a lot of like-minded folks out there that just want to have a little bit of peace and harmony, especially as we transition from the stay-at-home, closed down mode and all that stuff too. And so the issues that suddenly crop up, I'll end with simply saying that are partially attributable to the months and weeks of some sort of lockdown, across the United States. People's pent-up emotions. And then something, a piece of a spark that ignited and made people say, well, it's not just the racial injustice that they're going for. It also, I think, stems from these weeks and months that we've been through, and that's just my way of thinking. Not wrong or right. It's just, another old dude, get off my grass way of looking at things. I mean, that's all I can say. Still hitting the antique. Still working just fine. Thank you very much. I remember when I was younger, when Nixon was running for president, there was a kind of a street slogan. I don't know where you came from, if you ever heard it, but it just popped into my head, and it went something like, why change dicks in the middle of a screw? Vote for Nixon in 72. There you go. Well, let me make sure it's still in tune. Yeah. This is probably just, here we go. I'd be so alone without you. Maybe you'd be lonesome too and blue. Fly the ocean in a silver plane. See the jungle when it's wet with rain. Just remember till you're home again, you belong to me. I'd be so alone without you. Maybe you'd be lonesome too and blue. Fly the ocean in a silver plane.